which was issued in 2011, specifically established a body that is responsible for safeguarding or protecting the Sharia compliance across all the Islamic banks, or rather non-interest banks as they are formally known in the country. This body is called FRES, Financial Regulations Advisory Council of Experts, and it has its membership of so many prominent scholars. It's been chaired by Sheikh Sharif Ibrahim Saleh Al-Husseini,
recording in progress,
Sheikh Dr. Bashir Ali Umar, and other prominent scholars in this country. And even there are some expatriates that are deployed or employed in order to build the capacity of our local scholars, considering the novelty of the Islamic banking system when it was introduced. So about 2 of members of the FRES are even non-Nigerians, and they are scholars of high repute at the international fora. So they have this role to play to ensure that all Islamic banks comply with the Islamic dictates, and they did not deviate. And any bank that deviates from the system must be sanctioned according to the existing laws and rules and regulations. Besides the role of the regulators, the Muslim scholars also have a role to play to ensure that Islamic banks remain Islamic. One, they need to understand the nitty-gritties of the Islamic banking system. Being a scholar alone or being conversant with the classical fiqhi components of mu'amalat will not equip someone to understand the modern operations of Islamic banking. Therefore, scholars need to understand the system as well, educate people, issue fatwas. Then whenever they see something that is being perceived to be non-Sharia compliant, they have to report it to the appropriate authorities. And they also have a role to play by working in the institutional Sharia boards, which are known as ACE, Advisory Committee of Experts of each bank. Each Islamic bank has a Sharia board, a team of scholars that ensure that all products and services offered by an Islamic bank remain Islamic. They issue fatwa on whatever issue that is not understood by the field officers. They will just issue them a fatwa, and whatever product being introduced to the bank or to the institution, it has to be passed through them, or it has to pass through them so that they will certify it to be Sharia compliant. So this is one of the roles the scholars can play in ensuring that Islamic banks remain Islamic. So also the bankers, the Islamic bankers, the relationship officers that are the ones in the field, they have a role to play. Firstly, they must have the capacity to understand it, because one of the challenges, many of relationship officers of Islamic banks are actually working with the conventional banks. Because of that, their experience, they are now been given training of 2-3 weeks, and they now become Islamic bankers. I believe this is not enough. Even if you are told that you are now an Islamic banker, tell yourself the crystal truth that you are not. Develop yourself, build your capacity, understand the nitty-gritties, understand the differences between the conventional banking that you have experience in and the new emerging area that you join. This will give you opportunity to ensure compliance. After this, they need to also have sincerity of purpose. Some of them accidentally found themselves in the Islamic banks working. Not that they went there or they went there out of passion, And this is very dangerous. If somebody doesn't have passion for Islamic banking and he found himself in this, is just like accidental teacher in a public school. You cannot expect him to perform well because he doesn't believe in what he's doing. So there must be sincerity of purpose for all practitioners. So also there is need for sense of responsibility, that he feels that he has a moral responsibility to ensure that Islamic banks remain Islamic. I believe some of you that are having accounts or are dealing with some Islamic banks can bear me witness the attitude of some of the relationship officers. Some of them are just eager to fill whatever form you want, and all they are after is to finish their work and go. So this is very important. They have to be responsible, to feel that they are responsible for Sharia compliance. It has been highlighted by Sheikh Taqi Uthmani that the Sharia compliance issue is a responsibility for all in Islamic bank, starting from the board of directors or general assembly of the bank up to the lowest relationship officer at the counter. So this is key for us to ensure that Islamic banks remain Islamic. Lastly but not the least, the customers themselves, they have a real role to play. One, they must have good intention for joining Islamic banks, that they do it in order to follow something that is in line with their faith. This is key. If they are doing so, they will make sure that whenever they see something that is non-compliant, they will not comply to it, and they will call the attention of the concerned authorities to it, so that the internal system that is there established to protect the Sharia compliance will now put to action. So by doing so, if all and sundry can take this moral responsibility, right from the international or multilateral organizations that are setting standards, moving to regulators, Muslim scholars, heads of the Islamic financial institutions, as well as the customers and the relationship officers. With this, we can ensure that the system that established Islamic banks guarantees that the Islamic banks remain Islamic. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize the need for more awareness creation on Islamic banking system, or rather Islamic finance in general, because there are so many misconceptions about the system. Most pathetic is that sometimes it is from the Muslim scholars themselves. Sometimes because of ignorance, somebody didn't take his time to understand the system. At the end, will just pass prohibition on it. This is very dangerous. And knowledge is a trust, is amana. Even though scholars say it, al-insan adu ma jahil, but then they have moral responsibility to understand. Otherwise, if you are asked as a scholar something you don't know, you better say you don't know than to prohibit it without any reason. This is very, very dangerous in Islam. So also, there is need for training and retraining in these financial institutions. Let the Islamic bankers know the Islamic banking system first. Let them understand it actually. It's not to be at the peripheral stage, and you will be working all through. And this is also one of the reasons you see there are some concerns here and there, because some people are seeing these people not to be protecting the Sharia compliance. Very few of Islamic bankers can explain to you the nitty-gritties of Islamic banking system. So there is need for this training and retraining among the staff of the Islamic banks. Finally, even though the Sharia-based banking system is something significant and we hope and pray for it, but then having a Sharia compliant system in the absence of the Sharia-based banking system is a welcome development, and is far, far ahead of the conventional system that we've been living for so many decades in this country. So, alhamdulillah, now that we are seeing the green lights of a modern banking system that suits our religious base and faith, definitely we should all work towards its improvement and towards its existence as a system that reflects the beauty of Islam, because so many people realize the beauty of Islam through the Islamic financial system. As I highlighted the other time during the last lecture, that I was dropped between Enugu and Oka for a program. As we moved, the road was dilapidated everywhere. The only road that is smooth and working between this and that axis is the one constructed by Sukuk. And the driver, who is an Igbo, was asking, what is this Sukuk? He thought that it is a construction company. I now took my time to explain that this is an instrument of Islamic finance. He says he remember when people were saying this Islamic banking, Islamic finance is Islamization, is Islamization. He said, if this is the Islamic banking, we will all embrace it. Let the Nigeria be Islamized if this is the Islamization. And this is his wording. You see how it serves as a means for call of to Islam. So I will stop here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. If there are some questions, comments, observations we can take before it is already time, but I believe they can give 2-3 minutes so that we can attend to some of the questions. Okay. Wa alaikum salam. Ameen. Okay, the difference between Islamic or Sharia based and Sharia compliant. This is the actual what this is actually what broke the concern. Sharia compliant is to have something in existence. You have savings account, you have current account, you have fixed deposit account. All these are there in conventional bank. Okay, now let's look at the current account. Let's look at the savings account. What is there that is not allowed? So we now remove what is not in conformity with Sharia so that it is now Sharia compliant. Go to fixed deposit account. There is fixed interest. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, now remove it and make it based on mudaraba. Whatever profit is realized by the bank, so you will be given something out of it according to the pre-agreed ratio. This is Sharia compliant. What the argument is saying is that why can't we invent our own system, which is entirely a paradigm shift from the existing conventional banking system? Do you understand? So this is the difference. So having Sharia compliant in place does not mean that it is haram. It is halal. Only that you can express more the beauty of Islam if you have your own. It's not that you panel beat the existing one to make it Sharia compliant. I hope you understand. Thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, we have questions from people.
Virtual.
Have qualification.
Okay, let's take one from the physical before we go to virtual, please, sir. Can we take those physical?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The issue of exchange rate. How can, for example, Nigeria, how can we improve our exchange rate through Islamic finance?
The issue of exchange rate is at the macro level, not at the micro level. It's at the macro level of the economy, not at the micro level of the economy. And we're talking about the micro level. But then generally, Islamic finance, if it continues the way it is practiced, now the percentage of Islamic finance in general in the Nigerian financial system is less than 1%. Yes, it's less than 1%. If you consider the total or net asset value of the, for example, of the Nigerian capital market, how many instruments are there that are Sharia compliant? Look at the bonds that are issued in the federal government that have the current or a valid tenure. Look at what we have as Sukuk. From the inception of Islamic banking to date, the entire Sukuks that are issued are not up to 1 trillion. How many bonds were issued? Look at the size of the conventional banks. Consider the size of the Islamic banks. We are having only one that is full-fledged at national level. The remaining two are regional. Taj Bank, Lotus Bank are all regional banks. Okay, no, they are about to. They are processing to go national. They have gone. This month? Okay, let me update myself then. So they have gone national recently. So Lotus, SunTrust and others. So generally, Islamic finance can contribute towards the improvement of the macro economy, but when it is practiced at the significant level. Do you understand? Because it is involvement with the real sector of the economy gives it upper hand to improve or impact on the economy. Look at the spillover economic effect of the Sukuk issuances of 2017, 2018, 2020 and 2021. Because they are all tied to the real sector. Compare it with the other issuances of the bonds of similar value. You can't compare the impact. So when Islamic banking or Islamic finance grew or grow to the level that it can impact the macro level of the economy, it will actually assist in affecting the economy, and we are hoping that inshallah in the near future. Please, let's take the last one, then we go to virtual. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Okay. I understood. This is not Sharia compliant. It's not allowed. This is mudaraba. And in mudaraba, Yes, this is the last question. This is the last question we are taking in physical. Then we are going to virtual, please. This is not Sharia compliant because in Mudaraba, you cannot guarantee the capital. What you are doing is now you are guaranteeing him his capital, and there is fixed profit. These two components negate the provision of Mudaraba. You can't have a guarantee for the capital because it is profit and loss. You can get and you can lose. So you can't guarantee. The second thing, there is no, you can't go for fixed profit. This is also like interest, so it's not allowed. Wallahu ala wa alam. Please, can we take one or maximum of 2 questions virtual? Director.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Jamil Aliyu, can you answer a question? I saw you put the rest there. Can I ask my question? Yes. And what is wonderful and really lecture. Really wonderful.
What's the question, please?
It's a very brief one.
Okay. Nigerian factor. In many cases, when you have a webinar, an international one, you rarely finish without experiencing. If there are 2-3 people connecting from Nigeria, you will experience this. Allah Kawasaki. Sorry, it's breaking. We can't hear you, and it is almost time for prayer, please. Director. We can't go. So maybe they can ask the question. So
I want to know the legitimacy of halal of school.
Sukuk. Yes, what's the question about this sukuk? Because sukuk as a topic is another lecture on its own. So it is one of the instruments that are used in Islamic finance, particularly to finance infrastructure deficits. And it is being practiced in so many components, both private and the public sectors. So maybe when we have another opportunity, we can talk on that. I think it is time for prayer. So we are going to stop here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. For those that are virtual, please, we can't continue because the network is bad. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please let them ask the question so that maybe